hearing that your ambulance service is spending over $400 an hour to keep their workers from forming a union, I would be livid at that waste of the community's resources.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Boss Watch is a segment that we try to do every week where we take a look. You know, the biggest part of Boss Watch comes from the federal government itself. We take press releases from the Department of Labor's Wage and Hour Division, which tracks wage theft cases, things like this. We also track the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, which, they'll put out press releases about employers that, violate safety regulations and put their employees at risk. And there were no press releases from either the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, from the Wage and Hour Division, from the EPA, from the EEOC, any of these agencies that every week we track and look for stories from the South. There were none this week. Zero. Which is great news because that just means all the bosses aren't breaking the law anymore.
They were on their best
behavior last week. Yes, no boss in the South stole money from their workers. No boss in the South last week sexually harassed their employees or put people in harm's way, even though we know for a fact that multiple people across the South died on the job last week. None of them was because of any employer negligence or incompetence or anything like that. And so that's just great news. That's great news. It's not great news because that's obviously not what it means. What it means is that the federal government is not being as strict with its enforcement as it used to be. And part of that is just because it doesn't have the resources. There are not as many employees at OSHA as there were only 6 months ago. There are not as many employees at the EEOC as there were only 6 months ago. And so, so we're having to get some of these stories from other places and highlight some other things. And so there was a story out of Mississippi that was reported on by Mississippi Today. They reported that some residents of a small community in the Mississippi Delta say they fear their health might be at risk after a train derailed and spilled a hazardous chemical compound that burned for hours. Part of a Canadian National Railway train went off the tracks on Saturday in Glendora, about halfway between Memphis, Tennessee, and Jackson, Mississippi. The derailment prompted a temporary evacuation of the village after a tank car containing benzene caught on fire. Desiree Simmons and Diamond Hoskins said they were leaving work at an Emmett Till museum when they realized they had to take their families to safety. The derailment occurred nearby. We came out of the building and all we heard was a boom, and the boom was a couple of feet down from where we was, and all we saw was black smoke, Simmons told Mississippi Today. Benzene is used in several products, including detergents and plastics. Symptoms of benzene poisoning include drowsiness, fast or irregular heartbeat, tremors, and headaches. Local fire departments worked several hours to extinguish the flames, according to the Tallahatchie County newspaper, the Sun Sentinel. The Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality built a berm around the tank car to contain the spillage and firefighting liquids. Employees of the Department of Environmental Quality, the State Health Department, Canadian National Railway, and the National Transportation Safety Board have been on site in Glendora, a rural community of about 140 residents. No buildings or homes were damaged, but the derailment damaged the main water line, which has since been repaired. Glendora was put under a boil water notice, a common practice after water lines break and temporarily lose pressure. Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate. Hoskins said people from CN gathered residents in Glendora on Monday and gave each family... Are you ready for what they gave each family, Adam? What do you think? What do you think the railway gave each family after they potentially poisoned their water? And remember, it's a community of 140 people, so it's not even like that many people. Like, I have the capacity to give 140 people a small gift myself as an individual, right? It would be a very small gift. But like 140 people is not how much? What do you think that this huge international rail company?
Maybe they wrote him like a $500 check or something.
Maybe a $500 check. That would be something. That would be a $500 check to 140 individuals, and presumably each individual is not their own family, right? And it said they gave each family this thing. So maybe that's 20 families. So a $500 check would be like $1,000 or no, $10,000. $10,000. Maybe that would be the total. Well, no, you would be wrong. They give each family $100, not a check, not cash, a Walmart gift card.
Oh my God. Wow.
It's just crazy.
Wow.
I mean, it's like almost just don't even do it. Like, I mean, I guess, it's something, but that's
They can go get some Tylenol for their poisoning.
bonkers. Since returning home on Tuesday, both Simmons and Hoskins say that they and their children experienced headaches, fatigue, and other symptoms. Both said they plan to visit a doctor soon, and both are worried about their family's health. Mayor Johnny B. Thomas said he believes the evacuation began too late and ended too soon, and the Glendora community is not involved enough in the response. They did not evacuate us in a timely manner and in an urgent manner, as it should have been with this type of chemical exposure. In a statement to Mississippi Today, the Department of Environmental Quality said air monitoring began promptly after the incident, and there have been no detectable levels of benzene found, and air quality in the community remains at safe levels. Therefore, initial evacuation orders have been lifted. The department said air monitoring continues as a precaution, and we will release any information where there is a threat to public health or the environment. The railroad company directed Mississippi Today to the National Transportation Safety Board for comment, and the board said it will release a preliminary report within 30 days. So there you go. We have another story from Labor Lab. They just released a new report titled One-Sided Reporting, the Growing Reporting Gap Between Required Annual Union versus Employer and Persuader Filings, and OLMS compliance efforts continue to widen. The report, which analyzes 2024 non-filing data as of June 30th, 2025, for a third consecutive year, reveals a stark and growing disparity in reporting compliance between labor organizations and employer/persuader organizations. Labor Lab's comprehensive analysis integrates data from 3 government-conducted studies: the recently released 2025 Government Accountability Office report on union filings, the 2024 Department of Labor's Inspector General report, and a 1984 U.S. House of Representatives subcommittee report. This first-ever triangulation of data sets provides irrefutable evidence of a significant and widening reporting gap. The key findings from the report were improved union compliance. The GAO study highlights a 10% improvement in on-time union report filings over a 5-year period. They also found abysmal employer and persuader non-compliance. They say that in stark contrast, documentation from the Department of Labor's own Inspector General reveals a consistently dismal on-time filing rate for persuader consultants and conspicuous absence of enforcement. While OLMS has successfully implemented voluntary compliance programs to improve union on-time filing, comparable initiatives for employer and persuader reporting deficiencies have been conspicuously absent, despite the smaller population size and reduced resource requirements. So there you go. Not good. You can check that out, laborlab.us. Some more from Labor Lab. Union Busters. This segment of Boss Watch is sponsored by Labor Lab. They're an employer watchdog organization committed to safeguarding the right to organize through unions, collective bargaining, and mutual aid. They do this by combing through reports that union busters are required to file with the Department of Labor. Here are the new filings from last week. The Tustin Group hired the Cummings Group. They did not provide a compensation rate. American Rock Products hired Labor Consulting Group for almost $400 an hour. Alro Steel Corporation hired Labor Management Associates at $324 an hour. And Medics Ambulance Service hired Davis, Grimm, Payne, and Mara at $440 an hour. I mean, can you imagine being in a local community and hearing that your ambulance service is spending over $400 an hour to keep their workers from forming a union? I would be so livid at that waste of the community's resources. But you know, what do I know? I'm just a little guy. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.